Okay, so this is one more lecture, and in the previous lecture, we had covered the functional decomposition method of concept development. So there are certain systematic concept development methods. One method, as we had discussed in the previous lesson, is to just start sketching. Just browse the internet, see some similar products, and start sketching and draw as many concepts as you want. But there it requires you to be in a flow. It requires a certain mindset. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So that is again a hit and trial sort of method. And in engineering we need uh, certain methods where we do not have to rely on the motivation alone. Sometimes we have motivation, sometimes we don't. So there are certain processes using which we should be able to output some concepts, some ideas. Because of this need, we have the systematic idea generation and concept generation methods in engineering design. Okay, so one such method was functional decomposition, and if you have not seen the previous video, I'm going to drop a link. Okay, so after the functional decomposition, in short, is nothing but the list of features that we want our product to have. Once we find the list of features, we have to find out we have to write the list of sub features. So here we have made the list of functions that our product needs to have. This is a coffee machine. Obviously, if generally these are hot coffee making machines, so you have to supply heat, you need to have water, you need to have coffee, and you need to have the container which will again be kept heated and ready for the coffee to be consumed. So we needed to contain hot water, and for hot water we needed to have all of these sub functions: heating the water, transporting the water, and we also need the power input. So all of these provide us certain clues as to which components have to be included and bought. Okay, so these list of features provide us a basic idea about the components that we need to have. Then we go for our function structure, which looks something like this one. The function structure tells us furthermore about the output from one module or component needs to go to the input of the other. So which component will feed into which component, all of these are further defined in function structure after function decomposition. Okay, this is sort of a flow chart which tells us more about the system which we are designing. Then there is further one more method which is called our morphological chart. So morphological chart, the meaning of morph means shape, and morphological chart provides us some of the inputs for our concept. Okay, so you can see there are certain features which are there, which we need to provide, and there are more than one ways in which we can provide a certain feature. Due to this, we can form a morphology chart. Okay, so let me just make a table here, and we are going to make a basic table. Let's change the color here to something else. Now let's draw a table here. Okay, so this can be our function. This column will have functions. Okay, the functions can be the coffee grinding, coffee grind. Then there is the water heating. Okay, so two of these functions are there. Let's draw further more columns. Okay, so these are the functions, and then you can have method 1 or option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so how are you going to grind the coffee? Another one method can be manual. Let's not name it manual. That is, we can feed the powder itself. Second can be manual, and there can be machine grinding. Okay, and furthermore, if you do not, if you need to think and write more and more methods here, because these are going to shape our concept later. Okay, so in how many ways we can heat water? One is the coil, that is resistance coil. Another can be induction coil, although this is not very popular, but this is an option which can be used in some cases. Other method is a pad, is a heating pad, just like the iron. Okay, fourth thing can be manual, although this is not likely. You're going to heat the water manually and put it there. That is, you're going to put the heated water yourself into the machine. This is again, this can be an idea which guides your thinking in some ways. Although this has to be something relevant, all of these things, all of these options need to be relevant, but these do not have to be the exact matches. Other thing can be your sugar, then your milk. Options: sugar can be the sugar cube or fine sugar, or you could even have liquid which you can add there. Okay, and further more options. If you cannot find one, you can just add a dash there. Milk, what do you need to have? Do you want to have a liquid milk, or do you need powder to be added into the machine? Okay, I think these two are the option. The other can be manual option where you will just add it externally. Okay, some of these can be integrated into the machine and some may not be integrated. That is, you can have a packet separately placed alongside of the device. Now comes user input. User input can be a button, a physical button, or it can be a touch screen. Other, you can think of more ways in which certain something like this can be provided. Okay, here, since I want to finish this lesson quickly for you, I have added the fifth column also, or you can just erase the fifth column now because you can't find more uh, an option which will fit into the fifth column also. You have to think as many ways as you can. You have to run your imagination wild, because something like this can give you an idea which will create a different product than what is already existing in the market. Okay, so we can give this thing a heading. So this is our morphological chart, or simply morphology chart. Here we have moved one step closer than function structure. Here we are focusing on, here we have some imagination as to what now the product will look like. Okay, so here if you can see here that coffee ground, that is, how are we going to add the coffee powder? Do we need to grind this within the machine itself, machine grinding, or you need to add it manually, or there can be a powder canister which can be fitted into the machine? So based on this, you can imagine what will be the shape of the coffee container which will be there in the machine. So here we have moved one step closer to a physical layout of our device. So morphology chart helps us in finding the shape and size of our product. Here we have moved one step closer to a physical layout. Okay, now after this, you can start sketching. That is, you can do some prior research and see what are the coffee makers which are existing in the market, how these look like, and how yours could be different. This will give you, first of all, an understanding about how these devices work. Something like this is also called benchmarking. Benchmarking tells you what is the minimum standard that you have to create. You have to create something which is better than what is existing in the market. So obviously, you need to have certain benchmarks or minimum standards to which you will create. If you're going to create a below standard product than what is already existing in the market, you can't sell any of it. It needs to be better in terms of price or better in terms of convenience or appearance. Okay, so after see all of this prior art which is already existing, you also have to study, because you can't create a product which looks exactly like some other product. They may have a design patent. So all of this prior study has to be done when you are designing your own product. So after this, you can, so based on this, so this doesn't have to lead to one single concept. Here I may have the manual method. So I want to have a manual method of adding coffee. Okay, so we are just going to use our own box and just a spoon to add coffee separately, okay, into the filter. So we are going to use the manual method of adding coffee. Then how about water heating? We can go for a resistance coil, or no. Okay, let's go for coil first. And then what about the sugar? Do I use sugar, the fine sugar, or that is all, both of these are manual methods? Liquid sugar can be automatic, which is going to, so the device, so you're going to have a screw mechanism which is going to dispense a certain amount of liquid into the cup. Okay, some methods can be automatic, some can be manual here. So in this first concept, that is what, how do you want to create your first concept? So let me add fine sugar manually. How about the milk? Let me add liquid milk from outside. Okay, then what about the interface? At this point, I want to create something simple. So let's stick to a button. So this is your concept one. This has certain pros, and this concept will target a certain user. So this concept, since things are simpler here, it's targeting a basic user, not an advanced user. This is going to provide an economical option and a quicker, it may not be a quicker option, but this definitely will be economical and towards a beginner user. Now how about a slightly advanced user who can pay more, and how about a premium version? Then we can have a machine with an automatic grinding function, that is a machine grinding function. And you can have a resistance pad here which is going to heat the water. Next option here, the sugar can be a liquid sugar, or you may have a powdered sugar, but both automatic. Then how about milk? I want to have liquid milk because people prefer fresh options. Then how about here, we want more convenience and more options. This advanced user may want more options in this, so more kind of beverage into this. So you can have a option 2 which is for a advanced user, and a premium version. So in this morphological chart, by this method, we don't have to be exactly motivated and in the mood at that time. Using this systematic approach, we can develop as many concepts as needed. uh, this can be both your academic assignment, and this can be a professional assignment to you when you're working in a company. So using this, you can develop as many concepts as possible or required. Okay, so something like this. So both of these, again, the next option here is to sketch it out. Okay, so now you have a basic idea about what the machine will look like. So your version 1, the concept 1 could look something like so you have manual with a resistance coil and cube addition, then the user input is a button. So your machine, you can think of what your machine could look like. So this is not a pressurized system for the coffee machine. Simply it can look like this one. Okay, let's go for the selection and, paste here. Okay, this is troublesome. Okay, so this is your concept 1. Okay, and the second option, you're going to have slightly fancy machine. Okay, and you are also having the option to grind the coffee beans. So this should be looking, so this should have a hopper here using which you can feed. So this is similar to that option. Something like this is similar to that option. Let's have this to be, let the concept be looking like this. Okay, so now the second concept looks like this. Now you have two concepts in hand. Okay, so here, just to quickly generate these concepts, we have just drag and drop these from the internet. You can start by looking at some of the references. You can start your own, you can form an image in your mind what the product will look like, and then simply start sketching. Okay, so this was the morphological chart. The next step is, once you have generated these things, you are going to weigh the pros and cons of these things. So obviously you will have to select the market first, your user first. You will have to know your customer and think of the space in which you want to launch your product. Okay, so keeping that user in mind, you are going to select the concept. Okay, there are more number of so in concept selection there are actually many more parameters based on which you will weigh your concept, and based on your user, always keep the user in mind. Only when you know your market, your user, you can sell the product. Okay, all of these decisions, whether to provide the whether to provide the automatic grinding, or do you want to feed the powder manually, all of these things, all of these choices are based on your user. Okay, you have to research your user and then choose what are the features you're going to provide, and then you will select a concept. So there are various concept selection methods also, which we will see further in our other lessons. For now, let's end this one here, and in the next session we can go for the concept selection method.